5:30 in the evening. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Clute.
Here.
Bragg.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public forum. Public comments may be sent to our live meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on city website at www.huronsd.com/citygovernment. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with your YouTube and Gmail or using your existing accounts. Please state your name and address for the record. Public forum is limited to the maximum of 3 minutes per person. And tonight, I believe we have Nathan on the phone. Nathan will answer the phone, and if you have a question, he will get my attention, and we will try to answer your question as soon as we can. So with that, we'll begin. Is there anybody here tonight that has a public forum that'd like to speak out at this time? Seeing none, we'll start. Agenda approval. Well, first of all, we need to add an addition to the agenda, and it will be 8.2, and it will be surplus oil tank from Old City Shop. We need to set up an appraisal committee on that. With that, I'd entertain roll call, please.
Need a motion.
I need a motion, I guess. Yeah, do we have a motion on that?
Move to approve the agenda with the addition of 8.2.
Second. Commissioner Smith, motion, second by Commissioner Robish. Now we'll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Approval of agenda has been done. Consent agenda. Consent agenda matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion. Unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item, items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. 4.1, regular minutes of October 5th, 2020. 4.2, special meetings minutes of October 9th, 2020. 4.3, fuel quotes for the city departments. 4.4, special event on sale liquid alcoholic beverage license filed by Top Floor Events for the SHE Awards, October 24th at the Fine Arts Center, 939 Ohio Avenue Southwest. 4.5, appoint Marty Keating to the Lake and Riverfront Development Committee. 4.6, raffle filed by the Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau for Ringneck Festival 6 and 7 at the Huron Event Center. 4.7, alcoholic beverages consumption in a public area filed by Andreas Moreno for birthday party October 24th, Prospect Park Glide and Slide Shelter. 4.8, personal items, hiring a part-time library clerk. And number 2, regular status of Zach Weber, police officer for completion of probationary period. And regular status of Shandy Stahl, solid waste maintenance 1 for completion of probationary period. 4.9, payment of the bills. Give a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Mark Robish move it to approve. Maybe a second.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. Petitions and communications, 6.1. Consider financial assistance agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for payment maintenance project 3-46, 4600, 2020 for Huron Regional Airport and authorize the mayor to sign. Need a motion?
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Commissioner Smith, need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Any discussion on this topic?
I just want to note, this is their pavement maintenance project, but on page 4, or it's page 40 of the packet, total project is $431,463.81. 90% of that is federal funds, and then our match this time is the 10%, which we're going to use the CARES money towards, that we received for the earthquake.
Any other discussion?
I just want to,
Yes, Commissioner Robish.
thank you, Mayor. We know that CARES money is coming in there. Okay. I thought that was just a need.
The airport received money.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Cooper talked about that a month ago at our
Yeah.
meeting, wanted to save it. And we talked about using it on these projects, and if we had to fund something that came up, we would look at that later.
He was talking about wiring or something, wasn't
Yeah, some lighting.
he? Lighting. Okay. But that's good, as long as it's on there.
Yeah, on the page 40 of your packet shows the budget.
I see that. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this topic? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay, 7.1, reading of ordinance number 2022-16-5-129. Tucker, our city attorney, Mr. Valesky, would you like to comment on that?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is just the first reading for an amendment regarding the rental housing provisions. Currently at 5.90.020 of our ordinances, it's referring people to the 2009 International Property Maintenance Code. This is just an update to refer people to the codes that are currently in effect, which would be the 2018 codes, which was recently adopted pursuant to an amendment to 18.12.010. So this is just updating the International Property Maintenance Codes to the 2018 version from the 2009 version.
And it's also setting a second reading for October 26th.
That's correct.
Need a motion on this?
Motion to approve the ordinance change and set the second reading October 26th.
Commissioner Smith, I need a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on this for the commission? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 7.2, first reading of ordinance number 2217-23-403. City Planner Barry Cranston, your comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Planning Commission, as you'll recall, let me go back, as you'll recall, a few meetings ago, we had some discussion about approving exposed fasteners in areas, certain areas that are in these outlying neighborhoods. And we granted a variance for an individual to do that. And one of the things that was kind of the consensus of the commission that we should take a look, if we're granting variances in one area of the city, then why aren't we looking at other areas of the city to do this as well? And that would alleviate some of the need for the variances. So the staff in our office did that, and we looked at that, and what we found was there were several occasions when people were denied certain variances for this very thing in certain areas of the city while other areas were granted. So we felt it would be, it's more on us in governance to make sure the standard is met rather than kind of choose and pick and choose where you want the variances to be going. So what we did is we came up with, I worked with Tucker, and we came up with some language to identify zones In your packet, you'll see an aerial photo that the red outlined areas indicate the proposed zones where they would be allowed now. The exposed fasteners would be allowed. And then we also allowed the R6 zones, which are outlined in yellow on your photo there. And that is basically because there's already metal buildings with exposed fasteners there because of the mobile homes and things that are already there. So this was a way we felt that would alleviate the need for variances in those areas. And again, these areas that we identified are all in the outer zones of the city where there's lesser population. The housing isn't, the lots are a little larger, the housing isn't so densely populated, you know. So this was what we felt was a good compromise. We presented that over the course of the last several months to the Planning Commission, and we had a lot of discussion on it. And in the end, they felt that it would be best if we changed the ordinance rather than continue to have all the unneeded variances. So with that, unless there's questions, the Planning Commission recommended approval by this body.
Was that unanimous from the planning commission?
Yes.
I have a motion. Can I have a motion on this?
I would move to approve this ordinance. I don't know if it's a change or.
It is a change in that we are adding those outlying areas, those zones, in those areas to allow exposed fasteners where currently we do not.
A motion on the floor. Can I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Now we can have discussion. Any more
Let me,
discussion?
Commissioner Clute, maybe if I could just clarify, I know I said that it was unanimous. Over the course of the 2 meetings that we talked about this, you know, people were absent in one meeting and then present for the other. Basically, the consensus of the entire Planning Commission was to approve it.
Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't mean to prolong this and whatever, but so anybody that's in these zones, which they won't know this until they apply for their, come in for the variance, you'll say, well, you're in the zone, you don't need one, or whatever. But what if someone outside these zones want to do this, or are we still going through with the variance thing? Or?
Yes, we do allow, we tell them when they come in for a building permit, we tell them that in their current area, they would be required to use, they can either have exposed fasteners or they have to have hidden fasteners, or what they call standing seam. And so what we would do is, depending on what their project is, we would walk through that through the building permit process.
And the reason I ask that is I understand these are on the outskirts or basically, but that's where the building is going to take place, is the outskirts. You're not gonna see very many new homes built in the inner city or whatever, so there's gonna be more new homes built south town, west, south, down here by Frontier or whatever. And so they would still have to come in for variances.
Yes, there's a potential for that. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
There's no way to,
Right.
there's no way to get around it, I'm just
No,
saying.
but these are the areas that we had the most activity for that request.
Okay.
So in an effort to kind of clean that up from a governance side, we felt that the change would be prudent.
No problem. Thank you.
So again, I was not here when you guys did the pretty big walkthrough on this, but you know, it seemed like the conversation we had a couple meetings ago when this came up is that the quality of these structures is much improved from when they first came out. You know, this seems to address some certain specific areas, but I just wonder, are we creating more issues now? Because if there's a lot of these areas I'm looking at on the map where I might be 1 block over, and so now we're creating that, well, my house isn't really that different from his house, how come he is in a zone? And I could still come and get a variance, but I would assume if we pass something like this, this body is likely to be less forgiving of the variances because we've addressed this.
That
but,
would be the goal, yes.
I guess my question would be, and, you know, maybe you guys can speak to this after going through it, but is this really as big of a concern as maybe it was at one time, where it's a real detriment to property values and to your neighbors to put one of these structures up to where or should we perhaps look at, you know, certainly in historic neighborhoods and things like that, maybe we'd be better to take the approach of these are the neighborhoods we can't do it, and then if we can agree on something that's attractive, maybe we wouldn't have to pick and choose. We could just say that historic neighborhoods or certain key areas, you can't do it, but everywhere else you could. I think this looks like it creates a lot of questions going forward of, you know, and I'm sure you guys spent a lot of time on this, but still someone could look at it and say it's a fairly arbitrary, we stopped at this street here and we stopped at that street there. If I'm one block further over, am I gonna be frustrated by it?
The reason we did it geographically is because we already govern zones. For example, you can't have modular homes basically north of 12th Street. And so we already have some of that in play. And so we felt like this was the most expeditious way to do it. And then we should eliminate most of the variances for the exposed fasteners were coming from these these outlying areas. We really haven't had a lot of requests from the permitting side to put these larger buildings in town, in the more core zones.
And do you feel, I mean, you guys that went through this, that would be a detriment to the community to have, you know, if somebody does an exposed, I mean, was that something you guys went through? So I guess I'm just asking you to catch me up on where it went, but, you know, obviously we have these in place for a reason. So can you talk me through what the thinking was last time, why we would limit these?
I can go a little bit on that. Here a few years ago, we had a big display up here with all kinds of tin and whatever, because there was a lot of, when the building code came, when the rental code came into more enforcement, we had the room full of homeowners. And so we tried to get to improve the homes that people were renting without, we were gonna be the bad guy instead of the tenant versus the homeowner. And so there was a lot of homeowners who were fixing a lot of buildings with just tin. And it wasn't very appealing. And that's where it all started. And that's probably got to be 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of progressed since then. And now you're looking at the last two that we approved, very, very nice buildings, attractive buildings, even in the nice home setting, actually. So that's kind of where it's evolved from and come to ahead.
I was just wondering and I don't want to belabor this too long, I know we've got other things to deal with, but I was just wondering if there would be a way to, some of these structures that we know are very attractive, if there would be a way to somehow set up a condition where some of that was allowed, but still not, you know, I don't know, maybe that's why we have to do it the way we do it, just say you can't do anything. And again, you guys already went through and spent a lot of time on this, so I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but it just seems like, again, we looked at several of the ones that have come up, we said what they replaced it with were much more attractive. As a neighbor, I would rather have the new structure, even if it had bolts showing, it was far more attractive than something in a deteriorating condition. Is there a time to look at a way where instead of having to, I mean, this map just looks very piecemeal. We've got a lot of little spots here and there, and I can see a lot of people looking at it saying, well, if my house was just a little bit over here, a little bit over there, I could do it. I was just wondering if there's a way we could be a little bit more open, but again, I don't want to take a ton of time with it, but that would be my comment on it, is it still seems like this addresses the very specific thing we've had of just the last couple because they happen to be in those neighborhoods, but I feel like in a few months' time, we're gonna be dealing with, okay, well now we've got somebody that wants to do a variance and they're 2 blocks over, so we're not really addressing the root cause of this problem.
I think some of the consideration too that you have to look at is lot size. You know, where the economics come into play is the larger the facility, obviously, if you go with what standard requirement is now, the cost is so much higher. And in the core boundaries of Huron, you don't have a lot of lots that you can put a 40 by 60 shed on, for example. And I think most of our requests have been coming from these outskirting areas to where they're large lot in design, Rich. And so you start factoring the economic boundary. I do understand where you're going with it too, and maybe thinking a little bit broader if we're willing to accept it in these spot areas. Should it be considered a little more defined parameter?
I'm just thinking if somebody were putting up we've done some of the variances like along the alley for an 8 by 10 shed or some of those, and right now there's certain construction they can't use for those. I don't know that in somebody's backyard, a 6 by 8 shed with bogles is necessarily that much worse than what they're putting up. But,
Well, then you'd probably vote for the variance.
and again,
That's a
right.
simple answer, I think.
Yeah, and
I think this is addressing the fact that we've had several variance requests in these areas, and we've uniformly granted them, and now we've realized that, you know, in these areas, we're always gonna be granting them because there are so many of these kinds of structures, and we're trying to simplify the process. So I think it's good, it's probably not perfect, and maybe somebody, like you said, a block over might say, well, what the heck, why aren't we in it? But there had to be some sort of dividing line, and I guess I'm relying on the planning commission taking quite a bit of time in analyzing the areas and setting forth the boundaries. I think it's an improvement, because I think we spend far too much time with these variances. And, so I guess that's the way I look at it. But if those people a block over ask for a variance, you know, we'll just be taking it up as we are right now. So.
Yeah, the other part, the other side of that is just to open it up and say, this is good for all over except for here and here and here. If coming in to get a variance, not just for a building, for a sidewalk, for planting in boulevards or whatever, if you're 2 blocks away from someplace and you want to do your landscaping and your sidewalk here and the rest of it all matches up here, well, kind of, we want you to come in and get a variance so that it all kind of matches, it lines up together, because that doesn't happen all the time either. Where you got one sidewalk coming here, and then you gotta go up, and then you gotta go, and then you go back down. That doesn't work very well either, but that's what it is.
No, I agree with you, Commissioner Clute. This is definitely an improvement over what we had. I was just wondering if we're still not maybe addressing the root cause, but I definitely support this because I think this does address most of what I've seen. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other discussion? This will have a second reading on November 2nd. So with that, no discussion, have a roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Booth.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay, now we go to 8.1, presentation of the 2019 audited financials. And we have Mike Tornoff here tonight, and he's going to explain everything in this book.
In 3 minutes or less, right?
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for selecting Snowbeather and Coyle to conduct the audit again for 2019. We do appreciate the opportunity to provide that service to the city. And I'd also like to thank Pauline and the rest of the finance office staff for their cooperation during the course of the audit. We really didn't have any major hiccups or issues dealing with COVID-19 as far as getting through the audit, so I thank the finance office staff for that. So we really went off without a hitch. So that said, you should all have a copy of the complete audited financial statement, as well as a separate 2-3-page letter that's addressed to the commission. We'll start there with that loose leaf letter that's laying in the binder there. That's not part of the complete audited financial statements that gets submitted to the state or the feds. What this is it's a separate communication from us to you as the commissioners, as the governing body, just a communication to you about our view about certain matters or issues that we consider to be significant and relevant to the commission regarding your oversight of the financial statements, the financial reporting process, I should say. So that's what this letter communicates. You can kind of read through that at your own. If we had, talks about different accounting policies, accounting estimates. It talks about different disclosures that are in the financial statements. If we had any difficulties during the audit, we would have to disclose those to you here. Any misstatements, corrected or otherwise, that we would communicate to you as well. If we had any disagreements with management, that would be disclosed here as well. Fortunately, we did not have any of those issues, so there's no certain disclosures regarding that. We also take the opportunity, if you go to the top of the 3rd page, to communicate some of the items that we came across during the audit that didn't rise to the level as a finding to report to the feds or state, but that are beneficial to you and that we feel are important as part of an internal control process. The one new item we have this year that we haven't reported to you in the past, when we confirm bank accounts with the financial institutions, one of the things we request is the signature card. And we did notice at least one bank that still had some authorized signers who have since retired that were part of the finance office. So our recommendation to the commission is to immediately address that, which you probably already have, and then keep that in mind going forward. Go through all the financial institution signature cards, make sure they're current, do that at least annually, and of course, obviously, do that anytime you have turnover within the finance office, just to make sure that doesn't get missed, which could, possibly provide an opportunity for some misappropriation of assets if it was the wrong person, which I don't believe that's the case here. But so you're aware of that. We also just always put the disclaimer, the comment in about lack of segregation of duties. We have a really good segregation within the city. It's just a matter of trying to keep any sort of custody of assets, handling of cash separate from financial reporting process. Very difficult to do without adding multiple staff. And obviously choices have been made to show that that's not feasible most of the time. But what is feasible is to be due diligent. You guys as commission, get that agenda packet every week, look through those bills, make sure you understand what they're going out for. I think we've talked about this in the past, maybe every once in a while. Grab a bank statement, look at that, compare it to those bills, you can kind of see if something jumps out, if something looks weird. That's stuff that you guys can do as the governing body, as the financial, you guys have the responsibility of oversight. So that's one little step you can do to kind of help make sure that the process is running smooth, and that we've done everything we can to help prevent any sort of misappropriation. So that is our comments there. Any questions on that letter in particular?
Sounds like last year.
Yeah, not like last year. So. Yes. Okay, then the big packet is the complete audited financial statements. I'll just quickly run through the summary there. You start off with table of contents, introductory section, and then our reports are in the Roman numerals, 2 through 10, I believe. We have 3 different reports that we are required to do as part of the audit process. The first one is our independent, actually it's the third one, but our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. That's where we express our opinion as to whether the financial statements are presented in accordance with GAAP. And then there's another report on, required by government auditing standards that issues our opinion or discloses our tests on internal control and on compliance with any sort of laws or regulations, contracts or grant agreements. And then the third one is a separate report based on the fact that you guys spent over 500,000 or 750,000 of federal funds. So that is a additional federal program compliance report that we are required to present. So that said, all 3 opinions are clean. If you look at the summary of independent auditors' results, I'll just quickly summarize those one more time on Roman numeral 2. The first statement there is in regards to the financial statements. An unmodified opinion was issued on each of the different opinion units. That's the governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit, that'd be the Huron housing, and each major fund within the city. So that's stating that the financial statements are indeed presented fairly in accordance with GAAP, in our opinion. The next 2 refer to that government auditing standards report that we did not, if we had identified any material weaknesses in internal control, that we disclose those there, or if we noticed any instances of non-compliance with any laws, contracts, agreements, so forth. Those would be disclosed in there. Again, neither of those items exist. So. And then the next 2 are the federal compliance program testing that we did. There's one major program that you guys have, that's the airport improvement program. I think we've got some more funding coming here again. So we do additional compliance testing on that program to make sure everything's in line with what the program requires. And again, no instances of non-compliance were noted from our testing. That said, the rest of it goes into the financial statements themselves after those opinion reports. Management's discussion and analysis is on pages 1 through 8. That's kind of an overview of some of the city activities throughout the year. And then the financial statements themselves come after that. So I won't labor you with those, but you guys can certainly, please ask me any questions that you have regarding those. Look at them later, email me, call me, I'm always available. So if you have any questions about the financial statements themselves, I'm always available.
Any questions for Mike?
Well, we were just given these, so.
Well, I hope you take a chance to look at them in the future. And hopefully that, like I said, please feel free to call me anytime.
Thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Now we'll go to 9.1. Oh, 8.2. Oh, yeah. Surplus oil tank, 8.2, surplus oil tank from Old City Shops, that's the appraisal committee. Appraisal committee for that will be
Yeah,
Dale
they-
Fortin, Dennis Bennett, and Rob Rieger. They will bring back an appraisal on that to us next week, I believe.
Yes.
So with that, take a motion to approve.
Move to approve the appraisal committee
And the surplus.
and of the 3,000 gallon oil tank.
Need a second on that?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bragg. Any other discussion on this topic? If not, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thank you. Now we'll go to 9.1. Temporary liquor licenses. I believe who wants to be a spokesman tonight to get up and tell us where we're at with that? Steve, you're gonna do that? Okay.